Yeah. So, hello, Slavoj. First of all, I'm really happy and grateful to hear from you and thank you for agreeing to answer on our question. I speak on behalf of Sigma. It's a multilingual media platform on art, politics, and critical theory run by a community of contributors and readers. And now we're launched a new series of, small interview with activists, cultural workers, theorists that are important to Sigma. And you, Slavoj, is our guest today. And I have to mention that you are a really important figure for us, for our platform.
Be serious. I'm grateful to you because with all the fuss and so on, there is a conformist side in us still living relatively comfortably in Western Europe. We complain, but our complaints are in the style of, oh my God, electricity is 10% more expensive and so on, like there is something false about it. So I think at least I should do what I can. I do it also out of pure support and friendship, but it's also my duty. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Slavoj. So I have, just one straight question for you. What do you think? What are the most relevant topics to research and work through, theoretical, artistic, organizational, in the context of Russian invasion in Ukraine and more broadly in the current world situation? So, and why this topic are relevant?
My answer will maybe surprise you, but I think that, of course, we know what to look into, what to research. I often use the theological metaphor of four riders of the apocalypse. We have pandemic, not just COVID. We know there are already new forms and so on. This will remain. We have war. Again, not only Russia and Ukraine, we can see signs of wars spreading around. We have hunger. By hunger, I don't mean just hunger, but effects of global warming, like tens of millions of people will have to emigrate, change their home, and the only option is some global cooperation, otherwise it's war. And we have what I call death, but not biological death. Death in the sense of things that are going now in biogenetics, even direct digital link between our brain and computers, how we are totally controlled. I think this will cause some basic change in what being human means. And we have to confront that, think about that, how to avoid creating two classes, which will be almost biological classes, those who are controlled, those who think that control the game. A new form of class struggle is emerging, which will be almost biological class struggle with intervention in your genetic structure and so on. These are the big problems. And we all know we should do all that we can and so on. But what interests me most, if you were to ask me now, I will give you a precise answer about the thing. What intrigues me is how ideology functions today. In what sense? In the sense of our inactivity. I'm talking more specifically, sorry for my narrow perspective, about the so-called Western world, most of Europe, United States, and so on. Listen, what I've told now, these four problems, we all know about it. And media, at least with global warming, media bombard us with this. So we are aware of it. We have big international conferences like the one I hated it in Glasgow a year ago. They, in some sense, although it was mystified, they said exactly what has to be done. Cooperation, coordination, not one big global world state that would be unthinkable corruption, but some form of obligatory cooperation, serious collective action. But so we know basically, apropos global warming, what is happening. We know even vaguely what to do. And basically, we do nothing. The pollution goes on and so on and so on. This is a big enigma. Enigma in the sense that what does this strange, it's a structure, I think, of somewhere in psychoanalytic terms, the structure somewhere between melancholia and depression. Like, you know what is wrong, but in a strange way, I am well aware what stupid term I'm using, you enjoy it. What we get are, and we enjoy listening to them, are doomsday fantasies. How will the world look with, I don't know, water levels, I don't know, 5 meters higher and cities underwater, and we enjoy all these visions and so on and so on. But we are still not ready to change our world. And it's not that we are stupid. We know. But as my friends here, other theoreticians developed, usually not to do something is grounded in not knowing it or ignoring it. But today, paradoxically, we know and we repeat all the time what to do, what we have to do. We use some knowledge we use the very knowledge as an excuse not to do it. We say, yes, we know, we talk about it all the time, and it's okay. So you see, we know, so don't bother me, we don't do it. So I think that in spite of all the talk about the crisis, the Western world still is not taking the crisis really seriously. I like to use here myself as a pathological example at a personal level. I am obviously an obsessional neurotic. I talk all the time. But I often caught myself in this typical obsessional situation of you talk all the time not to achieve something, but to guarantee it that things will stay the same. For example, a personal admission. When I was in psychoanalytic treatment 30, 40 years ago, I remember my sessions they were short because it was with the Lacanian, so that I talked all the time. But you know why? I was afraid that if I'm silent for a moment, the psychoanalyst may ask me some really hard question. I talked all the time so that nothing happened. So just to keep things. And don't you think that the way we deal with the crisis today has a lot of this in it? To this comes also the combination of left and right-wing approach to this. Like right-wingers, okay, there you have outright deniers. It's not so serious, blah, blah, blah. With left-wingers, you have, again, more this approach because of talking all the time and then expecting that things will go bad and then imagining why they went bad. Isn't an irony that after a failed revolution, the best Marxist book are the books written about why the revolution or the rebellion, whatever, a good thing, why it had to fail. They provide excellent work, beginning with Trotsky's text, why it had to go wrong. There is a weird pleasure in this, and we didn't yet break out of this. Especially concerning now, one aspect of this, the war, Russian attack on Ukraine. What I discovered? That, what was, they didn't tell it, very few of them admitted it, but in the West, de facto, nobody would admit it, there was a big disappointment, namely, till the war exploded, practically all of my friends said, this is bluff, this is psychological warfare, don't take it seriously. Then when the war exploded, they all expected it will be over in a couple of days. Russians in Kiev, it will be over. And then, that's my psychological analysis, they were disappointed that it wasn't over. Their secret wish was so obviously, okay, Russians will take it and then we will have negotiations, but the trauma will be over. So maybe, it's a horrible thought, maybe the fact that the war goes on will be something, sorry for saying this in the face of all the suffering, will be something good in the sense that it will confront us in the Western Europe and Russia with the fact that we were used of wars taking place out somewhere. Wars happen on the screen. You see it in the evening for TV news, you see images. But you really don't take it as part of your reality. It happens on the screen for most of us. Now it's happening dangerously close to us. Maybe, I hope, this will be an awakening. But still, the basic problem I see today is this inability to act, which is, in my primitive psychological analysis, connected with our hyperactivity. We are so active all the time, you worry about your career, you work and so on, that you don't have a moment to step back and really think. So how to break this inactivity? This is the big problem. It's not just a psychological problem. I'm not saying psychology has a key. It's the problem of how ideology functions today. It functions, I think, in a totally cynical way, in the sense that it's not even meant to be taken seriously. And this goes for all sides. From Putin to Donald Trump, you miss the point if you take seriously what they are saying. It's not meant to be taken seriously. This is, for me, although it may appear marginal, the problem behind all the problems. This weird inability. We are hyperactive, but we are all, I'm afraid, like my obsessional neurosis. We are dynamic, we work, we protest all the time, just to make it sure that nothing will really change.